I've played dozens of JRPGs in my lifetime, and they've come in all shapes and sizes. You got more colorful and almost kiddie feeling like Magic Pendulum: The Quest for Color, games that are cut from a similar cloth like Breath of Fire or Nostalgia, games that are more based around parody tropes of the genre and are funny like the Disgaea series, and then the games that are set around a post-apocalyptic future. There are few and far between. The main series that comes to my mind is the Shin Megami Tensei series. There are some others, but the one that comes to my mind immediately is Shin Megami Tensei. I have a few of the games on PSN, but first one that got requested to me was Nocturne, and I'll put a link into the description where you can go check out his channel. Upon research, the history of the game is pretty interesting. It was developed and published by Atlas, released on October 12th, 2004 in North America for the PS2, and released on May 20th, 2015 for PlayStation Network. According to Wikipedia, Nocturne was originally proposed by Kazuma Kaneko and others after the completion of the two previous installments, Shin Megami Tensei 2 and Shin Megami Tensei If. Nocturne expanded on the general Megami Tensei theme of people lacking excitement in their everyday lives, with Nocturne focusing on the extraordinary events people cannot experience in real life. Despite the release of the PlayStation and Sega Saturn consoles, the team took a while to decide what they want for the game. The team spent time deciding to create a different kind of game that would appeal to a wider audience than its prequel. Eventually, the team decided they needed to develop for the PS2 to realize their vision. Because of the delay, Atlas shifted development focus onto Megami Ibinaroko Persona, also known as Revelations Persona in North America, and Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner. When their vision for the game was finalized, full development took approximately 1 year. Along with Kaneko, series co-creator Koji Okada produced the title. The game was directed by Katsura Hashino, his first time in such a position with the Megami Tensei series. While the option of making a direct sequel to Shin Megami Tensei 2 was considered, Kaneko wanted to return to the contemporary setting of the original Shin Megami Tensei as opposed to the science fiction aesthetic of its sequel, as it felt that the game was more than just the third numeric installment. The subtitle Nocturne was added. I could go more in depth, but it would have me spending more time not talking about the game itself than needed. The story is yet another one I don't remember because of how much time I spent grinding. Again, according to Wikipedia, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne takes place in modern-day Tokyo before and after an event called the Conception, in which the normal world is destroyed through the actions of a cult to prevent the world's stagnation and ultimate demise. Tokyo is transformed into a wasteland on the inside of a sphere inhabited by the spirits of humans who died in the Conception, demons who wage war with each other, and reasons deity-like beings formed from the gathering of Magitama by people with a deity or demon sponsor. Those who possess reasons seek to remake the world in their image by presenting themselves Kagutushi, a semi-sentient manifestation of power which exists to perpetuate the destruction and rebirth of worlds through conception and proving their worth. In other words, someone brings upon Armageddon, killing everyone or turning them into demons, and the bad guys are looking to mold the world in their image. It's your job to rescue your friends and stop those baddies from doing so. The graphics are very unique for the art style. Everything looks like a heavy metal variant of the anime art style. While its art has a basis in anime, it uses a lot more darker tones. The monsters are very unique and varied. They range from more human-like to cutesy, and some even look more along the lines of something from a modern monster horror film. Bosses, from what I've seen, are a little bit lacking. Sure, there is a good amount of detail, but they lack that sense of dread that a game like Final Fantasy X has. My biggest problem with the graphics is that it's in the levels. While it does look appropriate for what they're trying to accomplish, this game will get repetitive in a hurry. You will be staring at a lot of purple, dark brown, and gray textures. It's not a bad thing at all. I think it gets old after a while. The audio is good, but not as good as a top-tier RPG. The music is very appropriate, and for its time, it felt very unique to me. If you have ever seen my Dream Theater discography review, which I encourage you to go watch, then you'll know that I love progressive rock music. To me, a close second is hard rock in the style of bands like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and the list goes on and on. Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne's music has a very heavy influence of bands like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and would fit right in with songs like Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast, and in general, stuff from Judas Priest's newest album, Redeemer of Souls, and so forth. One of my only issues is more personal bias than anything. I grew up with these epic RPGs like Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, and so on. They all have these classical music scores, which I absolutely love. While Shin Megami Tensei's music is well done and has a good change of pace, I will still love that music in a Final Fantasy more than I will in something like this. It's not that Nocturne's music is bad, it's just that, I'm in generally gonna be more biased and more lenient towards something like a Final Fantasy, the epic classic music kind of deal, than I will be with a Shin Megami Tensei's hard rock. My only other issue with the audio is the lack of voice act. At this point, most if not all RPGs that were worth their weight were getting their stories voice acted unless you were Nintendo. At this, and the whole presentation of the storyline makes it really a lot to be desired. The gameplay is solid, but it's ultimately not as good as some fanboys who cream their pants over the series makes it out to be. If you ever played a Japanese role-playing game, then you know how the game goes by now. You run around from point A to point B, fighting monsters, collecting, buying items, and killing bosses. You get a party of 4 characters with a backup group of characters you can switch out at any time. Pretty typical stuff, but where it changes it up is by what some people would call taking elements from the Pokemon games and making them their own. Before we mention how it does it, I will mention this. The Shin Megami Tensei games have been doing this since the SNES in Japan. So you could say games like the Pokemon and more so the Dragon Quest Monster series borrowed from them. Anyway, the game has this recruitment system where you can talk to monsters, and depending on how it goes, they will either join you, run away, attack you, or give you items along with running away. You can do several things to these characters. These include leveling them up or fusing them with other monsters. Leveling them up may cause them to evolve or gain new spells. Fusing them can give you stronger monsters along with new spells that the previous monsters had. The only drawback is that you can't make monsters that are higher level than the main character is. With all those elements put into play, here's what I like. I like the more old school feel to it. It feels more tactical and rewards smarter gamers that take advantage of enemies' tendencies. There's also a lot of value in this game. This game is on average around 40 plus hours, and there's a fair bit of value. Add on multiple endings, a lot of different combinations for monsters, and you got a fair bit of replay value. The only problem I have is that it lacks a certain charm that makes a good game great. I'm not sure what it is, but it just doesn't have the same level of quality as a game like Soul Nomad and The World Eaters. It's a solid playing game, but at the end of the day, I have to ask myself, is this better than Final Fantasy Tactics, Dragon Quest VIII, or Dragon Quest Monster 2? And the answer is always no. It's a solid and well-made game. It's just that it lacks an X factor that puts it over the top, where it's better than, your bar. That a game that Dragon Quest Monsters 2, Dragon Quest VIII, or even Final Fantasy Tactics say, if you're better than these, or you take the elements of these and do it better, that means you're something special and you're a really good game. Overall, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne is just a solid RPG. It does everything extremely well, just not as well as other games. Plus, it came out at a time where we would get a big influx of RPGs for the PlayStation 2. Within a 2-year period, we got Shadow Hearts Covenant, Grandia 3, Kingdom Hearts 2, Xenosaga 2, and so on. The genre would get a lot of good games later on, and I could see it getting lost in the mix. While Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne is a good game, it's not a classic. You can get it on the PlayStation Network for around $10, and I would definitely give it a shot. I give it an 8 out of 10.